Okay, this is ELKHART, and we're in the Panhandle of Oklahoma at the Cook's residence. And those of you that follow these have seen Joe Cook a good number of times because he was good enough to cover a lot of topics for me the last time we were here. Mary Lee, you were in ELKHART at the time of the Dust Bowl, right?
Well, out on the farm, not ELKHART.
Out on the farm. And Joe, were you in ELKHART or out on the farm?
We were out on the farm. Mary Lee lived in Texas County across the line in Oklahoma, and I lived northwest of ELKHART, about 25 miles in Morton County.
And was your dad farming at that time?
Yes,
And was your family in farming at that time?
Yes.
And we watched the movie that they put on the television last night, where somebody did a nice documentary on it. But I'm interested. How did it happen that, from your point of view, that you first were aware that, hey, we are having real dust storms?
Oh, the dirt always blew to a point, but nothing like when I guess when they started rolling in.
What do you mean rolling in?
Well, they just came in and rolled.
They come in from the west, from the north, the south, or did it just depend on the day?
Mainly from the north.
Mainly from the north.
Mm-hmm.
And you said something about Black Sunday.
That's right.
What did that mean?
Just mean that it was awful bad. That's worst it had ever been.
And about how old were you then?
Probably 8 or 9.
And what'd your family do when this was rolling in?
Well, at the time I was at a rabbit drive with my dad.
What do you mean a rabbit drive?
Well, there were so many rabbits that we built little pens and drive the rabbits in there, and then we'd kill them with, any kind of a stick of wood, baseball bat, whatever you could get.
Well, I noticed in that documentary that it said that was after you'd had the Dust Bowl conditions for a while, and there was hardly any grass, any crops really flourishing, and whatever was out there, the rabbits
were eating them.
Eating them like crazy. It's kind of hard to imagine today, as nice as this country is. Joe, how about Black Sunday for you? Do you remember it?
Yeah, I do. It was I believe it was April the 14th in 1935 on a Sunday. We'd been to Richfield, the church, had gone home, and I never will forget this. Boys were out there playing, my brothers and I, and we saw this huge dark black cloud coming in from the north, and so Father called us in, and we all went in the house and didn't know what it was going to be, and so we all went to the basement, and it hit, and it just was so, the dust was so thick, it shut out all the light, and it just got dark. And I guess that's why they refer to it as Black Sunday, maybe. But anyway, we finally went up out of the basement and kind of looked and see what it was doing to the place, and you couldn't see anything much. And pretty soon I noticed some balls of fire through the air, and back then we had a radio, and you had to have an outside antenna, so Dad had a wire strung from the eave of the house out to a pole by the corral, and I guess the static electricity was causing a little old balls of fire just dancing up and down on that wire. It just caused some static electricity. But anyway, it's kind of a scary thing, especially for us kids. And it let up a little the next day, and by the third day, why, it was gone, and dust settled, and we went out to see what it had done to our livestock and try and get things fed and watered, and I don't remember too much about the livestock, but it was something the folks had to take care of.
Mary Lee, how did you say your folks tried to keep the dirt from coming into the house?
How? Well, Mother took old sheets, and put it in starch and pasted up all the windows.
Cut strips.
Cut strips and put it in the windows to keep out the dirt. And if it got real bad, why, we hung up wet sheets over the windows and stuff.
Did the dirt come in anyway?
Oh yes, but it helped.
What'd you say about how the table was set?
Well, when you set the table, you never set it till it was time to eat. And then you'd put the silver on the table and with a plate upside down. Everything had to be upside down to keep the dirt out of the plates until you got your food on it, and then it's still dusty sometimes.
And both of you recognized people in that documentary that we watched on television last night, and so several Elkhart people were in that, weren't they?
Yes, they were.
And they're still alive today.
Yes.
And do you remember, did you have to do without an awful lot during those days to tough it out and stay in this country with the Dust Bowl conditions?
Well, you know what? If we did without, everybody did, and we didn't notice it.
That's a good point.
I never did think I did without.
Well, I'm sure glad you toughed it out and didn't go to Oklahoma. From Oklahoma to California.
California?
'Cause I know
Daddy would have never taken us to California.
Well, I'm so glad my parents didn't take me to California. Joe, any last thought about those days?
Well, my folks must have had a great deal of faith in order to stay, because a lot of people did leave and go to California or back east. You could get back past central Kansas going east, and you get out of the worst of it. You know, there might be an occasional storm that the dust would carry clear across the United States before it settled out, but then it wouldn't be a ground-blowing condition and in those areas, and they probably gained a little topsoil. It's probably a benefit.
Might help them. Okay, well, I think we were running about right on time. In that documentary, it did point out that at one time a congressman that wanted the nation to help with this Dust Bowl situation had proven to the congressman, because some of the dust, actually they say tons of dust was moving in that air, and some of it got clear back to Washington, D.C.